Minecraft just added 2 new hostile mobs, a new desert skeleton called the Parched, and a new desert zombie camel called the Camel Husk. There's also been more updates to the new spear weapon, which are a great buff, and even more features in the new Mounts of Mayhem update that you should know about. There's also been a huge new Bedrock update that released today with a ton of bug fixes that we'll check out near the end of the video. So let's start off with this new Husk camel and the Parched. So these guys will spawn in the desert at nighttime during light level 0, of course, and they're basically the same spawn rules as the Husk, so they don't spawn in caves or anything like that. And look at the skeleton, he's basically like a mummy. He's so cool looking. Now this guy is going to be pretty similar to either the Bogged or the Stray. Of course, those guys shoot tipped arrows, and this one is no different. So this guy shoots weakness arrows, and if you kill him, he actually has a chance of dropping some weakness arrows too, which is actually legitimately helpful because you can use these arrows to cure zombie villagers in the early game, and especially on Java where making these tipped arrows isn't really that easy. This is a huge win. Yeah, so fighting these guys in survival isn't going to be like too difficult. They are a little bit slower than your normal skeleton. So of course, if you're fighting the Husk on a camel, he's got the spear and he knows how to use it. And then he's got the back passenger, which also shoots at you with those weakness arrows. So you're going to have a fun time. I feel like this is actually so good. I hope that we get more crazy things like this in the Mounts of Mayhem update. So there's not a ton else to say about the Parch besides the fact that he's actually really cool looking. Now, unfortunately, he does not drop sand when he dies. I am once again begging you, pleading with you, like, just please, Mojang, add a mob that drops sand. These guys literally are 90% sand by volume. Make this guy and the Husk also drop sand. Sand farms in Minecraft, please. Thank you. Hey, listen, I have an arrow literally in my ear. I think I'm allowed to complain about things. Now, you'll notice that the Parched and the Husk don't burn during the day, which is a cool little feature. And the Camel Husk also does not burn in the daytime either. Now, the Husk Camel will be hostile to you if it's actually ridden by a Husk or something that's hostile. But otherwise, if you go ahead and ride this guy, it's just like a regular camel. It's got all the same features that you would expect. You can even put a saddle on it. And I gotta say, he looks really good with the saddle. Check that out. No, that's actually so cool. So yeah, just like a normal camel, you can walk around with him. You can do the dash with him. You can get 2 players on here. He's basically just cool in every way, I'm not gonna lie. And the texture overall actually looks really nice. Now, if we compare this to the regular camel, it's, you know, essentially the same thing, just a lot darker and objectively cooler, because, like, you can see its ribs. No bias or anything, but things that you can see the ribs of are pretty cool. The Camel Husk will just despawn. However, it becomes persistent as soon as you ride it. So if you want to keep one of these things around in your world, just go ahead and hop on top of it. You also can't breed them because, you know, they're dead. Interestingly, it is really interested in the rabbit foot. That is its favorite food. So if you hold one of these, it will just follow you. And I love that the little ears do the little wiggle too. That's actually so cool. So if you click on this guy, he does get a little bit of heals from that. But of course, again, you cannot breed these. However, that's how you can, like, actually heal this guy a little bit. And if we hop back on here, as you see, he's now full health. Okay, let's hit this guy once. You'll see that it's taken a lot of damage because this is Smite 5. But then we click on him a couple of times and now he has healed some hearts. So that is how you can go ahead and heal this guy. Now, of course, the rabbit feet are kind of rare, but if you want to heal him, you can also just throw some potions of harming at the guy, and that will heal his health probably a lot easier than the rabbit foot will. And we have even more buffs and changes to the spear in this update. Now, if you haven't caught my recent shorts, you might not know that you can actually just go ahead and put mending on the spear now along with lunge, so that is no longer an issue. Also, whenever you're using the lunge enchantment on a spear, it doesn't do just obscene amounts of damage. Previously, you could do about 60 lunges before a netherite spear was completely destroyed, and that wasn't very good, so they changed it so now it consumes hunger, but there's actually been a reduction in the amount of hunger that it uses. So lunge 3 will use 3 hunger points, lunge 2 is 2 points, lunge 1 is 1 hunger point. Now, 1 hunger point does not equal 1 little haunch of the bar. Each bar is 2 points. So if we're using a lunge 3 spear, that is going to be a total of 1.5 haunches of food. However, this does not include your saturation. So if we go ahead and eat a golden carrot, that's going to top us up. We can use some lunge 3 And as you can see, it doesn't use any hunger until it burns through the saturation. And we were actually able to use it like 5 times before we actually used any hunger. Now, previously, Lunge 3 would use 6 hunger points, so it's been a half reduction in the amount of hunger that you use. So previously, you could use Lunge 3 7 times before it actually destroyed your hunger bar, but now it should be about 14. So I got 11 lunges out of it just now with a full, hunger bar of golden carrots. So this means that there is a little bit of meta when it comes to the food that you eat, such as the, saturation stews or maybe even golden apples or something like that. So the better the food that you eat, the longer you will be able to use a lunge spear. Now, I haven't showed this in a video either, but technically there's a cooldown when you use a lunge. So if you use this, there's a little bit of a cooldown. You can't just spam it. And this is like the vanilla cooldown. Even on a Bedrock edition, we have this cooldown. However, on both platforms, you can actually just go ahead and spam this thing. So there's some pretty cool movement that you can do with this. If you use wind charges, jump, throw one, you can actually, on Java edition, do something called attribute switching, and that allows you to pretty much just spam this spear as soon as you get up into the air. So normally, if you were to do this and then switch to the spear, it's got that cooldown, so you can't actually launch while you're mid-air. But attribute switching is where you punch and then immediately switch to another item, and that means that you get the attributes of the item that you switch to. So we have no cooldown when it comes to punching with the wind charge, but we get the attributes of Lunge 3, meaning that we can cross this entire thing right here, and it's pretty cool, actually. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of timing to actually do this on Java edition, but on Bedrock, there's not that cooldown, so you can just like do this natively without really much effort. And this is actually such a fun way to get around the world. It's pretty much just for the PvPers and stuff, but still, it's pretty cool. There's also been another change to Lunge, so now every time you use it, it does 1 durability damage to your spear, but of course, Unbreaking 3 can prevent that damage from happening. So I just lunged a bunch of times, and we've done 9 durability out of, 2,000. So I think that's pretty cool. There's been another huge change in this update that I think we've waited 50 years for. So I'm pretty excited. Now, if you have a horse and you go into a river or any body of water, the horse doesn't sink to the bottom of the river. It knows how to swim like a real horse. Oh my god, this is so nice. No longer are we limited by, small stretches of water like 5 blocks no longer destroys your horse. This is a huge buff to horses and donkeys and basically everything that is an undead mount. So that's actually so cool, man. I love this change. Why did it take them 50 years to add this? I don't know, but I mean, we can just be happy that it's here, right? Right? Surely we don't need to complain about this, right? We can all get on the page that this is a cool addition, right? Nobody complain about this, please. So yes, you can still have a submarine horse, which makes so much fun. Makes so much fun. Yeah, I know how to do in English. And the Husk camel also sinks as well, which it like totally should. So that's a cool feature. The zombie horse does float though. I feel like maybe it shouldn't. Yeah, no, it shouldn't. It's an undead mob. And jumping into the new Bedrock Edition update, this is update 121-120. So we have a just ton of bug fixes here. Most of them are very small. However, we also do have some like actual gameplay features and stuff that you should care about. So a big one for anyone who plays with keyboard or mouse, you can now use the, number keys to rearrange things in your inventory. So if I press a 1 on anything in my inventory, that's going to put that into the first slot of the hotbar right here. And this is so nice. This is a great parody addition from Java. Now, even if you click on an empty slot, that'll take the item out of slot 1 and put it into that empty slot, which is super nice. So not only can you use this for like really quick and convenient inventory management, tool swapping, putting food where you want it, it's just incredibly convenient in every way imaginable, and it will actually save you a lot of time. If you play on keyboard and mouse, please start using this. You will fall in love with it really quickly. Now, what they should do is make it so that you can press F to pay respects, to put things into your offhand or take things out of it. I don't know why that didn't come along with this feature. It seems like it really should have, but I guess they're just not allowed to touch the offhand on Bedrock Edition, because then we would speculate, and that's, you know, that's actually totally fair. There's also been a nice bug fix to shields, so if someone's shooting you with a punch bow or a knockback sword or something, you're no longer going to get the knockback from that. This bug was actually in the game years ago, and they fixed it, but I guess it came back. There's also been numerous accessibility features that have been added into the main game. So one of the first ones is that your camera actually moves backwards a little bit when you climb up ladders or vines. It's actually pretty subtle, like I'm not really noticing anything. But if we go slow, you can see it right there. Your FOV punches out a little bit. So are you really going to notice this if you're going fast? So like, probably not. It's kind of hard to tell. This used to be a lot worse in the betas. It used to be very jittery. So kind of a small one on that front. However, we do have another one. So if you get close to a mob, look at this. Goodbye, sheep. Oh my, it just like disappears. And it's like really badly done. It's just like what you're seeing on screen is what I actually see in game. Go try it out. It looks is like, you know, 30% transparent. It's just really weird. You could like see into the inside layers of the sheep. It's literally X-ray vision for sheep. If we summon in a creeper, where's the creeper at? Oh wait, it's literally right inside of us. You can have mobs literally be inside of you. And if it's like a short mob, if you're like slightly up or something, they just completely like unrender, and that's not a good thing. That will kill you. I don't care what you're wearing, it's gonna kill you. It doesn't like what you're wearing, you have no style. It gets weirder though, so if you approach any form of glass, it also starts to unrender as well. So look at this. This is like, you know, some red glass, and then it just becomes clear. What's the point of having stained glass if it becomes clear when you walk up to it? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really happen with clear glass because it just turns everything else into clear glass. Now, even if you have a bunch of these in a row, it still happens because that's just how it works. So I guess if you want to have some red glass now, you need like a gap between two walls of them. Okay, while I'm ranting, why has the pause screen changed? Like, sure, this might seem like an improvement, but every single time I want to open my settings, I accidentally leave the world because muscle memory. This is where settings should be. Why is settings this tiny button down here? Why is there a giant button for the ads when there should just be a giant button for the settings? So if you go into the accessibility section here, then scroll down a little bit, you'll find that there is the dithering for blocks and dithering for mobs. That's what this feature is called. If we turn that off, as you can see, it no longer actually, you know, has any like dithering. And then if we go walk into this mob over here, as you can see, it no longer does it. So at least there is a toggle. There did not used to be a toggle for this. Yeah, it doesn't affect the little punch out of vines. I'm not sure if there is a setting for that. Maybe it's somewhere in here for accessibility, but I didn't see anything that might be it. Now, even with the video setting, FOV can be altered by gameplay. As you can see, it still alters the FOV when you walk up to this. So I feel like that should be included under this little toggle right here. Suspicious Stew has also been added to the creative inventory with an actual description of what effect it has. So these are all the ones that you can get in survival from villagers and all of that stuff. There has been a nerf to some trident farms. There was this thing called like Nautilus Flux or whatever, where if you gave a Nautilus shell to a drown, it would actually drop a full durability trident, and this could significantly boost the rates of your trident farms. I never personally got it to work because I think I'm stupid. However, it no longer is possible. They do not drop their trident for a Nautilus shell anymore. However, there has been a slight buff to trident farms as well, and that's the fact that drowns can actually have enchanted tridents. So in theory, we should be getting enchanted tridents from our drown farms now. So it seems like fairly common for them to have an enchanted trident. I think, you know, half of these guys that have had a trident had an enchanted one. This is where the cool people subscribe to the video. I have a pointy stick. This is a threat.